In part 1 of the proper experiment, you will be required to categorize emotions. However, for demonstration purposes, in this demo, we are going to categorize items of food and drink. These items are presented in a vertical list on the left hand side of the computer screen, as you can see here. The first thing you should do is have a quick look at these so you become familiar with them. And then to start sorting the food and drink items, you click the orange button here, and that creates a window, and you can drag a food and drink item into that window, and then you look to see which item you think goes with that, can be categorized with that, and you drag another item into the window, and in that way you create a category here. If you'd like to create another category, just press the orange button again and you see a new window, and again you can drag more items into this window, and if you think other items belong in that category, you can drag them into that category. If you would like to change your mind and you think, well, one of these items doesn't belong in that category, then you can click the X next to the item, and that means the item goes back into the original list, and you can drag it into another category. And you keep going on like this, creating categories and putting them carefully where you think they belong. This sorting task actually requires a very careful thought. Before you complete this sorting task, please make sure that you are satisfied with each emotion, and that you are satisfied where each emotion, or food and drink shall we say, fits best in the category where you have placed it. When you have finished categorizing all of the food and drink items, then you have finished part 1 of the experiment, and then we go on to part 2. So in part 2 you are required to rate each item of food and drink in terms of how good an example each of them is of the category you have put them in. So, and by doing this, to do this, you click on the stars. So for example, if you think that an item is a very good example of the category, you click on 9 stars, and you see number 9 appears there, and all the 9 stars are highlighted. If you think an item is not a very good example of the category, you click on just 1 star, and you rate each of the items on the scale of 1 to 9 using the full range of the scale. Once you have rated all the items in terms of how good an example they are of their respective categories, then task 2 has been completed. Okay, and now after that we move on to task 3, and to do that you have to click the done, in brackets it also says next. It's an orange button here, and it says here, inside group number 2, rating value is not set. Please set at least 1 star. So we go to group 2, and as you can see, I have made a mistake. I haven't rated coffee in terms of how good an example coffee is of this category here. So I need to rate it on the 1 to 9 scale by clicking a star. Okay, let's try again. Yes, so we go on to part 3, and in part 3 this requires you to think of a food or drink word or label for each of the categories that you have created. For each category, read the items in the category and try to think of a food and drink word or label that best represents all of the items in the category. This word can be one of the food and drink items that appears in a particular category. And if you want to choose a word that appears in a particular category, then you click on the right hand side of the label window and you can see a list of items in that category, and you just click on the one you think represents that category very well. However, there might be instances in which you don't want to use an item from the category, but you want to think of a category word or label that represents that group. And in this case, you can type in a word or label that you think represents that category very well. And in the third one, I might want to choose a label from the group, so I click on a word there. In the fourth group, I might want to supply my own label or word that represents the category, and so on. Okay. And when you've supplied a word or words that represent the categories, then part 3 has been completed.